guys, and welcome back to Drop Clutch Garage. Today we got the Toyota 6 back in the garage. We're going to be finishing up the exhaust, installing some unequal length headers, and giving it a tune. For those of you guys who are familiar with these vehicles, understand that unlocks quite a bit of power, sometimes 25, 30 horsepower. So we're super excited. Going to include some sound clips of before and after, and also link the part 1 video where we install the NVIDIA exhaust. So stay tuned and we'll get this thing tuned and sounding great. Okay guys, first thing we're gonna do is remove these skid plates. Looks like we got some 12s and 10s and some plastic clips over on the sides. So we'll go ahead and get these off and then show you what we're working with. Alrighty guys, almost have the skid plate off. A bunch of 10s and 12s. If you actually keep these 10s on right here, you can keep the metal and this glass piece together. Fiberglass, possibly, I think it is. It all comes down in one piece, which just makes it just a bit easier. So we'll knock off these 2 12s and the whole thing will come down as one. All right guys, and the only real thing we gotta do up top is remove the negative from the battery. And then we're gonna unplug the O2 sensors, so when we drop down the stock header, we're not hung up on those. And those are these 2 connections right up here. We'll go ahead and disconnect these guys. And then guys, I also gotta remove these clips that hold the harness for the O2 sensor into the engine right there. 2 on this side, and then there's also 2 that hold this one and that little bracket right there. So now that those are totally free, we can go ahead and route those down, so when we drop the header, they don't get tangled up or snag up on anything. All right guys, so we're back underneath. We got those skid plates off. Toyota and Subaru made it super easy, so basically everything exhaust-wise is a 14. So you can see we got 3 holding on the exhaust on each bank. And we'll be able to get a deep socket in there to get those loose. And then we have the overpipe here. We'll break loose 14s again. I believe to get enough room in here to install and remove, we're gonna have to unbolt our exhaust back down here, just 2, and then this mounting bracket. And that'll allow us to push this back a little and to pull off the overpipe, because there are studs into this header right here. So we'll be able to unbolt it back there and pull this back to then drop the header. So let's start down here and get that loose. Guys, and we're gonna keep our overpipe connected here. We're just loosening, or actually removing this connection and this bracket, so we can drop this part of the exhaust down and push it back a little bit. We will be disconnecting the overpipe here from the header. Again, so we can push that back and drop the header straight down. All right guys, you can see we have the exhaust unbolted there and from that bracket. Then we come up top here, we have it disconnected from our header as well, with just enough space to allow us to drop the header and keep the overpipe connected to the rest of the exhaust. We're still going with the factory overpipe. So let's get to removing the header. We got 6 14 bolts, so we need a deep 14 socket for it. We go ahead and break these loose first with the ratchet and then speed them off with the impact. All right guys, and just like that, it is off. Went ahead and get our gaskets in place. Actually, before we throw up our new header, we're gonna go ahead and swap over the O2 sensors. While you have it out of the car, we'll make it much, much easier for you to make that swap. So let's get out from underneath here and swap over those O2s. And guys, removing these O2 sensors can definitely be a bear sometimes. So you're gonna wanna definitely soak these with some rust penetration or some WD-40, something to get in there and loosen it up. You're also gonna wanna try to use a O2 socket, or in this case, I have a line wrench, which will give us a much better fit and grip around than like an open end. And if it's really struggling, you can try to hit it with a hammer a couple times to try to get it free. That usually works pretty well. Definitely gonna wanna be careful with your knuckles because this is definitely a knuckle busting situation. But let's go ahead and try to get these off. Because this car is so new, these did come off pretty easily. But if you're at 50, 60, 70,000 miles, these are gonna be much more difficult. So definitely take those steps to oil it up, use some rust penetration, break these loose, make your life a lot easier. Install these in the new header. Make sure they go back in the same order that you took them off, in the same location. We'll go ahead and get these in and get them up in the car. All right guys, you can see that we have those O2s installed. These are also some secondhand headers. Went ahead and saved a bunch of money. Super high quality. You can see those TIG welds are beautiful. It helps to have a second head of hands. You could hand off the O2 wires too, all the way up to the top where they plug in. That way they don't get snagged or anything like that when you're trying to fish them through. So let's get this installed in the car. We already got the gaskets, new gaskets installed on the engine block, so we're good there. This is a good time to have your nuts ready before you're sitting here holding it up. Got them somewhere in the side compartment. There's one. Once you got a nut started on one of the flanges, you're good to kind of let it rest. Just make sure you got a bunch of threads so that way it doesn't come crashing down on you. We'll go ahead and get all the other nuts threaded up. All right guys, we're gonna go ahead and run these nuts snug and then we're gonna final torque them to 22 foot-pounds. One of these nuts you're only able to get access with a open end wrench, so we're just gonna have to snug that. The rest of the exhaust is kind of loosely hung right now. And then we're just gonna fit the gasket in between the header and the overpipe. The factory header has studs mounted in it for this point. But the header actually comes with bolts and nuts to replace those studs. So we'll slide that gasket in there, put the bolts and nuts in there, tighten that up, and then we will get this all nice and tight. And we're getting pretty close to our first startup here, guys. Guys, before we went ahead and put the skid plates back on, we went ahead and fired it up, let it heat up pretty well, and then we're gonna go ahead and re-torque all these header bolts now that they've heated up, just to make sure they're nice and tight and still sealed. And then now that we have no leaks, we're sure we have no leaks, we'll go ahead and put the skid plates back on, and then we'll get the car on the ground and get it tuned. All right guys, so we're gonna get this tuned now. We have an OFT. We got it plugged into the OBD2 ports. We're gonna put the keys into accessory mode, and we're gonna make sure all the doors, windows are closed, hood's closed, trunk's closed, everything's closed, and we're not gonna touch anything during this entire write process. So let's go ahead and turn the keys to the on position. All right, we're gonna go to tuning. It's cool. So he was checking for the files that we have on this tuner. I think we just have one. We're gonna go to write. And there we have our stage 2 plus tune. We'll go ahead and click that. And then we'll hit this forward arrow. Again, during this time, make sure you're not touching anything, opening any doors, turning anything on or off. Just let it do its thing. See there, it gives us a little volt reading from the battery. And we have our progress bar. All right, now it's telling us to turn the ignition off. I'm gonna go ahead and confirm that with hitting OK. We're gonna go ahead and turn the ignition on, and again, confirm that with hitting OK. writing complete. We're going to switch the power off. And we're going to start the car and let it idle for 45 seconds. Confirm with OK. Guys, that's gonna be a wrap for today's video. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing and sharing and liking. Please drop a comment below what you think we should do to this thing next. Thanks again so much for watching. Go ahead and follow us at Instagram at